Hello, investors. Fox here. Today we're breaking down a topic that seems very simple at first glance, but actually has a direct impact on your money, your peace of mind, and your financial freedom. Why is it that one person with a high income still lives under constant financial pressure, while another person earning much less feels calm and secure? The answer is not just income. Very often, it comes down to how expensive your lifestyle is, how you spend your money, and which financial habits are quietly shaping your future. In this video, we'll go through the rules that help you not just earn more, but actually become financially stronger. Imagine two apartments. Same city, same neighborhood, almost the same rent. In the first apartment lives a person earning $95,000 a year. He has a huge TV on the wall, an expensive couch, a kitchen full of appliances he barely uses, closets packed with clothes, some of them still with tags on. One of the rooms is basically turned into a storage unit for stuff he does not need. And despite all of that, every time he opens his banking app, he feels anxious. A couple of missed paychecks and serious problems begin. In the second apartment lives a person earning $52,000 a year. His furniture is simpler, the TV is normal. In the kitchen, he only keeps what he actually uses. His closet is full of clothes he really wears, and the spare room is just a room, not a storage space. And here is the most interesting part. This person looks at his bank account calmly. He has enough savings to cover many months ahead, and he invests part of every paycheck. One earns almost twice as much, but the one who feels more financially secure is the person earning less.
And that is a very important idea. The problem is not always income. Very often, the real problem is the lifestyle a person slowly builds around themselves. Most people think financial stability begins with a big salary, but in reality, it begins with a different question. How much does it cost to maintain your life? That is exactly what we are talking about today. Because for most people, the issue is not just how much they earn. The issue is that every new item, every small purchase, every lifestyle upgrade quietly turns into a permanent financial burden.
And here is the first important rule. Rule number 1. Everything you own costs you money twice. The first time is when you buy it. That part is obvious. But there is also a second cost, and this is the one most people never really think about. Because after you buy something, it starts requiring space, maintenance, attention, cleaning, sometimes repairs, and most importantly, it takes money away from what could have been working for you. You buy an expensive item. It feels like you only spent money once, but that is not true. Now it takes up space in your home, you have to store it, think about it, maintain it, and most importantly, that money is no longer being invested or building your future freedom. In simple terms, you are not just buying the item itself, you are also buying all the costs that come with it. And that is exactly what most people almost never notice.
Rule number 2. Do not focus only on the price. Focus on the cost per use. Most purchases seem reasonable when you only look at the price tag. But the situation changes completely when you ask a different question. How much does this item cost for each real use? Let's say you buy a jacket for $200 and wear it only twice. That means each use cost you $100. Now imagine another jacket that costs $400, but you wear it regularly for several years. In that case, the cost per use becomes much lower. That is exactly why a cheap purchase often turns out to be the most expensive one. And an expensive but truly useful item can actually be the better deal. This way of thinking quickly kills impulse buying. Because once you stop seeing, this costs $300, and start seeing, I will probably use this twice a year, your brain starts making very different decisions.
Rule number 3. Do not upgrade things just because you are bored. This is where huge amounts of money disappear over the years. Your phone still works, but a new model comes out. Your car is fine, but you want something newer. Your laptop handles everything, but the new one looks better. Your couch is still good, but you are tired of it. You already have clothes, but you feel like refreshing your wardrobe. And this is a very dangerous trap, because these purchases do not solve real problems. They only create the feeling that your life is being upgraded. For a short moment, it feels like progress. But in reality, it is often just expensive entertainment disguised as self-improvement. This is exactly how people with decent incomes stay without real capital for years. Not because they make one catastrophic mistake, but because they keep replacing perfectly functional things with slightly newer, slightly trendier, slightly more impressive ones. And if you do that for years, the total becomes huge. So here is a very useful rule. If something still works and does its job, you do not need to replace it. Not because you should never enjoy yourself, but because financially strong people know how to tell the difference between a real need and plain boredom. Boredom is not a reason to spend money.
Rule number 4. Make spending harder and saving easier. A lot of people overestimate willpower. They tell themselves, "Next time, I just will not buy anything unnecessary. I will simply control myself better. I will just try to spend less." But the problem is that willpower is unstable. When you are tired, stressed, emotional, or just want to reward yourself, your decisions get much weaker. That is why smart people do not rely on discipline alone. They build a system.
For example, they delete shopping apps from their phone. They do not save their card details on websites. They create a 24-hour waiting rule before any unnecessary purchase. And they automatically move part of their income into savings or investments the moment they get paid. It sounds simple, but these small actions really change behavior. Because if buying something takes only 2 taps, you will do it more often. But if there is a pause between wanting something and buying it, a huge number of impulse purchases disappear. The same thing is true for saving. If money is supposed to be whatever is left at the end of the month, usually almost nothing is left. But if money goes into savings automatically the moment your paycheck arrives, you start building capital without having to fight yourself every month. And that is one of the strongest ideas in personal finance. Rule number 5. Decide in advance what enough means for you. In my opinion, this is one of the most important rules in the entire video, because a lot of people never define what enough actually means for them. And when you do not have that point clearly defined, here is what happens. You start earning more, then you start spending more. Then you get used to the new level, and then it feels like you still do not have enough. And this cycle can continue forever. A person reaches a new income level, and immediately their standards go up too. A bigger apartment, a more expensive car, better vacations, more restaurants, more polished clothes, newer technology. And eventually you end up in a strange situation. The person earns a lot, but still has no real financial freedom, because every income increase gets swallowed by a more expensive lifestyle. That is why it is so important to define in advance what kind of apartment is actually enough for me, what kind of car I really need, what level of spending makes me comfortable, and what is simply extra. Because if you do not define where enough is, the market will define it for you. Advertising will define it for you. Your social circle will define it for you. Social media will define it for you. And then nothing will ever feel like enough. But a person who decides that point for themselves gains a huge advantage. When their income grows, they do not have to inflate their life immediately. They can direct the difference into capital, investments, and freedom. And that is what truly changes the future.
Rule number 6. Wealth is not the number of things you own. Wealth is the number of options you have. Very often, people think of wealth as something external, a big apartment, an expensive car, a luxury watch, branded clothes, status symbols. But in reality, none of that automatically means wealth. Sometimes it is just an expensive display case. Real wealth is something different. It is the ability to choose. Can you leave a job that is destroying you? Can you take a few months off? Can you survive a difficult season without panic? Can you move, switch careers, or start a new project? Can you say no to money if the price is your life? That is what real wealth actually is.
When you have savings, low obligations, and control over your spending, you gain freedom. But when all of your income goes into maintaining your lifestyle, you may have a lot of nice things, but almost no real choice. And that is a very important shift in thinking. Every unnecessary purchase is not just money lost. Very often, it is a piece of your future freedom being traded away. Because that money could have become an emergency fund, investments, breathing room, or the ability to walk away from something that no longer fits your life. And when you start looking at money this way, your decisions become much more mature. The question is no longer, do I want this thing? The real question becomes, am I willing to trade a piece of my freedom for it? And very often, the answer is not what it seemed to be in the moment of an impulse purchase.
Rule number 7. Do not declutter once a year. Review your life regularly. This is how most people do it. First, they accumulate things for years. Then, at some point, they get overwhelmed. They do one big decluttering session, throw out a huge amount of stuff, feel relief for a while, and then slowly drift back into the same pattern. So the problem never really gets solved, it only gets postponed. That is why a much better approach is this: not one giant cleanup, but small, regular review. From time to time, ask yourself, what has entered my life recently? What am I not using? What is taking up space without giving value? What no longer fits the life I actually want?
This approach is calmer and much more effective because you never let things reach the point of overload. You do not live in a constant state of accumulation. You simply keep clearing space on a regular basis, in your home, in your mind, and in your finances. And by the way, this is directly connected to money too. Because when a person stops accumulating things without thinking, they start seeing much more clearly where their life is actually going.
And this is where we arrive at the most important idea. Minimalism in money is not about suffering. It is not about living in an empty room and never allowing yourself anything. It is about something else. It is about understanding that not every purchase improves your life, and that very often, extra things do not add happiness, they add noise, pressure, and ongoing costs. Most people think peace of mind comes from earning more. But the truth is that without control over your lifestyle, money will almost always feel insufficient, no matter how much you make. And the opposite is also true. If a person learns to manage their things, their desires, and their spending, they begin to get what almost everyone is really looking for: peace, stability, control, and freedom.
And this is where we arrive at the most important idea. Minimalism in money is not about suffering. It is not about living in an empty room and never allowing yourself anything. That is why the real question is not just how many things you own, and it is not only how much you earn either. The real question is this: are your possessions serving your life, or is your life already serving your possessions? Because honestly, the math is very often on the side of simplicity, and peace of mind is too. Financial stability is not only about salary, it is about how expensive your lifestyle is. It is about how many decisions you make impulsively. It is about how many things you buy not because you truly need them, but because you are bored,
anxious, or simply want to feel like life has improved. But the truth is that extra things rarely make life easier. More often, they make life more expensive. And that is why the real issue is not only how much you earn. Real wealth is not a display case. Real wealth is peace, time, control over your life, and freedom of choice.
If you enjoyed this video, support it with a like. Subscribe to Fox Invest if you want more simple but powerful breakdowns about money, economics, and investor mindset. And make sure to leave a comment. Which of these rules feels the most important to you? And which one do you think causes people to lose the most money? Thanks for watching. Fox was here. See you in the next video.